Welcome to another Behind the Shield podcast. I'm your host, Gary Daemer, and
I'm Jason Shropshire, co-host. And today we've got a really important special guest with us, a man that we've known for quite a long time in the field, Mr. Trés Vance. Welcome, Trey.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here. This is
Absolutely.
awesome.
Thanks for making the drive out from Raleigh.
Absolutely.
Yeah. A couple hours away.
a couple of North Carolina guys.
That's right.
Come to the mountains, eat some barbecue, and
Yeah.
podcast all
All
afternoon.
worth it. It was worth it from the beginning. So
Even before the storm.
That's right.
So,
Yep.
but
This is the fun before the storm.
there you go. There you go. Well, how about maybe you could just describe who you are and why it's important for you to come to a podcast like this around AWS and AWS GovCloud and FedRAMP. And we talk a lot about compliance and training and all these different topics that we cover. You know, why you here now today as well. So
Yeah. So Trés Vance from CloudSmart, now Inc. But we are also, CloudSmart is also an AWS partner. We're what's called a software partner in the software path. We're a differentiated partner, part of the well-architected partner program, amongst other things that we do. But I was just glad to have the invite, the opportunity to come out and talk to you all. We've known each other for a long time, and I think we'll talk about some of that on the podcast. But really, like, CloudSmart was a journey, and love to talk a little bit about that journey and how we all kind of work together and how we've gotten to know each other. So I think it'll be an interesting story.
Cool.
Awesome.
What do you think about maybe talking about how we first met? I mean, I think that would be probably pretty interesting.
I'd love your perspective.
I would
on
love
it.
to hear your
We have our
perspective.
perspective.
Yeah, we have our perspective, but it was
Sure.
really in the first kind of evaluation of our acceptance into the former ATO on AWS program.
Right. So back at that time, I was actually at AWS in the public sector organization, and the ATO on AWS, as it was known at that time, was a partner-driven program, and you all were very keen on joining it.
Yes,
and
we were.
So we all met, and I think it was really interesting. It's like when I first heard of you, I was like, well, is it a medical company or
Yeah.
Yes,
But infusions.
But after that, I was like, this is really cool. Like the stuff that you guys were doing and already where you had started. And what I thought was interesting at that time was that the pivot that you're willing to make to do things to not only accommodate how the AWS program worked at that time, but also to really excel in it. So for me, that was exciting. And then you guys bonus were in North Carolina and like double bonus. As we found out later, we all went to UNC Charlotte.
There you go.
So it was like, okay, yeah, these guys are in no matter what. Like we'll figure the rest of it out. But that was a really cool experience to meet you guys. I feel like that was at DC Summit.
It was.
Yeah. So DC Summit and then later in the AWS offices and
That's right. Yep.
yeah, it was a really cool thing.
Up
And
there
then,
on
I had
Rhode
never,
Island, right? That office.
yeah. And I
Mm-hmm.
had never seen companies that were doing cybersecurity from North Carolina. So I think for me, that was really important. And you guys were like grounded here in Wilkesboro. I was like,
Western
okay.
North Carolina, not just North Carolina, but Western.
That's true.
So we're not in the
We were-
Research Triangle area.
Right,
we're
right.
in the middle of almost nowhere.
Right.
Is what I always like to
And you guys
describe.
were
Waiting
like
RTP.
building.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So yes, people in RTP, it's a little different,
Right.
but yeah, out here, that was what I kind of took from it. And then also the proficiency that you all had and kind of where you'd come from, some of the things that you were doing before cloud. And then, to fast forward all these years later, like in cloud. And
No, I remember
it's
loving.
really cool.
I remember hearing the concept ATO and AWS, and that AWS had a partner program specifically designed for organizations like us. I mean, we had been advising more customers on how to get their ATOs, and we had learned a lot about AWS, and we're sort of walking them through that path. And I was like, why haven't I heard of this program? It was when they launched it back in 2019 or 18.
18 probably.
18, yeah. I was intrigued, and I was beating down, Tim's door. He'll tell you all kinds of stories.
He
about,
tripped him at the DC Public Summit.
Yeah.
Well, he says I stalked him, but I'm not sure if that's really true. Maybe.
Yeah.
But it made a lot of sense for us. It was going in the direction we wanted to go with bringing not just advising, but doing the engineering and acceleration and all the things that we wanted to make the process faster and not as painful, and really to compress the time frame to get ready for FedRAMP and DoD audits and things like that. So it made a lot of sense for our business model.
It did, but we still weren't quite committed to AWS either at the time because we were still trying to figure out, is it going to be Azure? Is it going to be Google? Is it going to be AWS? And then one of our leading customers that we had that we were advising, they were AWS, so we decided to give it a try. And next thing you know, we're doing some really cool things there.
Yeah. I think that focus is what's really good and interesting, is because a lot of times, and now I can kind of speak to it from the perspective of being outside of AWS, of course, but having that focus, you can really dive deep.
Yes.
So like when you try to cover every different thing, like every different cloud, you're just not going to know it to the depth that you can when you're focused. So I commend you on that. And then
it's a big differentiator that we focus mainly, almost exclusively on AWS.
100%. Yeah. And it's just, I think back to the early parts of that program, like we started with, very few tools, right? Like I could probably name them off, but the big thing was we were in a conference room in a little town in Florida, giving it a go. And we iterated very quickly from that. We brought in more partners. The partners started to really teach us more things. And then it kept expanding and expanding. So a lot of ATOs came from just having that advocacy inside of AWS. And then, once we started learning from partners like yourself, it was just like, okay, well, now there are even more ideas. So the flywheel of ideas really started with, something very small, kept iterating, kept going, brought in partners like yourself, and then it really started getting fast. And now, with AI, like that next wave is going to be very interesting.
Well, in the beginning, we struggled a bit, just trying to figure out the way, and I'm going to just whatever the way is. I don't know if anybody really knows.
Well, when you find out, let me know.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I don't think we really knew, we started out and Jason was trying to figure out the AWS kind of, how do I get from point A to point B? And then he's like, Gary, I don't know. This is like, I'm going here and I'm going back over here and I'm getting over here. It reminded me of these just infinite loops. And then finally I took over some of that space and I spent a little time on figuring out how we actually start to try to march through the path. And then I got to a certain point and I couldn't figure out anymore how much, what we needed to do to kind of advance ourselves. So we actually brought on another person, our alliance manager, Al Lopez, and he really has now taken it, to the next level for us. And I really feel, now that we're a premier tier partner, which is pretty awesome. Yeah, thank you very much for that. Al takes all the credit. I'll be honest with you. I mean, we did a lot of the work to kind of get us started, but
I'll give Al the credit all day long.
Exactly.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because he could focus on it, right? And that also enables us to, focus a lot more attention, on AWS as a partner. But that's where I think programs that like what you have, I think can help companies like us excel even that much more, taking it to that next step. How do we truly make money off not only our engineering services, but off the platform itself? Or how do we save money, by selling more things inside of Marketplace at a cheaper way? Yeah. More efficient way is probably the better way to say it. So
right. So I'll tell you kind of how CloudSmart, the villain origin story, if you will, of CloudSmart. But the short version of it is, like, I've always been entrepreneurial. I had a company starting in 2003. It was aspirational, but I called it Advance Co. So if you ever hear that name, that's my original company. But we were selling open source security tools. And I think I told you guys this before, but like at the time I didn't know what open source was. I was just like, it just means it's free, right?
Right. Oh yeah.
Turns out that's not what open source means at all. But I was using open source technology and then putting those what's called Amazon machine images into the marketplace. So it was a way, that was even before I got to Amazon, right? So that was me figuring out, like, okay, well, this is how this thing works. Because at first there were just the core AWS services, your EC2s, your S3, and then Marketplace came around 2012. So Marketplace has actually been around for a long time, but I joined it with machine images. And machine images didn't have a lot of data around them. So a machine image, you would just put these things out there. You would follow the guidelines for either hardening them or securing them, and then you would wait. And then an amazing thing happened, actually. Like the next month would come and you get a disbursement. You look at a bank account and you're like, hey, I made money. Oh, that's really cool. I essentially put something into a marketplace and then someone bought it.
Wow.
But then I was like, well,
what a concept.
Who bought that? For a while, it was just like, hey, it's great. I've got like steak dinner money or whatever.
Right.
But then there was like, well, who bought this and why did they buy it? And that's where the next iteration came from. It's like, hey, you know what? That is actually a major challenge, right? The reporting and analytics behind a marketplace. And I was like, this Amazon company, they might know a thing or two about it. And so you kind of think about it from the perspective of what we as consumers see from like Amazon.com. At the time, the AWS Marketplace was not like the Amazon.com.
No,
Amazon.com, the finest logistics in the world and seller insights and all of the other stuff. The AWS Marketplace, not so much.
Not as much.
Yeah, not so much. And it's also built differently than a lot of the other services. So when you think about, I always say this, but when you think about services, AWS Marketplace is the only service that is there for us as partners.
Mm-hmm.
The other services are consumer or customer facing.
Yep.
But the marketplace is the only one that's for us. It puts us on a level playing field, mostly with the AWS services. And so what I would say is this, like our first challenge was, how do we make the reporting and analytics from this marketplace as useful as a true e-commerce experience? And so being a former AWS SA, and I kind of patted myself on the back. I was like, hey, public sector SA of the year here. I can knock this out really quickly. About 18 months and a new legal entity later, I realized that this was a problem for an AWS startup. Mm-hmm. And so we started a business called CloudSmart, hence the name on the shirt. But CloudSmart was there to build the reporting and analytics so that other people didn't have to. And as we went through that journey, we realized, one, this is not trivial, but two, no one else has really done it. And then three, like there's probably a monetized business there. And so we kept iterating. And so finally we ended up with what we have now, which is our CloudSmart Insights platform, which is the one that gives you all of the marketplace intelligence on important things like disbursements. I will always lead with that. So what sellers want to know, how do you get paid? Then the next thing is, when do you get paid? And then it's, who's paying me? Probably in those orders. Like,
right.
But,
and it just wasn't easy to put that together with what AWS gave you out of the box at the time.
Right. Because they just weren't operating in that space. They weren't thinking that way. And then there were other companies in this space, but they were doing different things. They were doing a lot with the listings themselves. But
like making it easier to list, or
yeah, there were a lot. So in the early days, there were a few companies that just started off with helping you to list because the marketplace didn't have the guides and checklists and some of the workshops and things that they have now. So those companies were helping companies to list and then managing those listings. So we looked at doing that same thing, and that was going to be our thing. We were going to be the Timex to their Rolex, if you will.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And what we decided to do instead was just go down our own path.
Right.
Like if you go down your own path, you can take it to where you want it to be. And if it's viable, it'll work. And then you keep scaling. If it doesn't, then you learn something and you move on and try something else.
Right.
Sure.
But so what we ended up doing was we ended up doing something completely different than everyone else. So we went our own way. We went down the path of reporting and analytics because that also was not competitive with anyone else. It was complementary to what others were doing. And so we ended up with a way to be able to tell sellers who their customers were, what the intent behind those customers are.
I'm sorry, it just amazes me that was that hard to do. I mean, so because we haven't gotten that far, right? We've sold a couple things in marketplace, but it's private offers,
right?
So we know,
so you know who,
who's doing the buying off of us. But that just amazes me that they didn't have that kind of capability built in, or easily found, or.
So the vast majority of marketplace today is still private offers. Like the
I can imagine,
yeah. The public data that AWS tells us is more than 95%.
Oh wow!
Of the transactions.
Okay, so I feel better about that then.
So, but I started the journey that we had. We started with public offers and just making something available to whoever wanted it, and then people found it. And so that problem, we started solving for that problem before.
Well, then those can be leaders to your other private
Correct.
offerings, right?
They
Or
can be,
things that are
right?
more complex.
So
yeah.
now with some maturity, they call that product-led growth,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mhm.
So product-led growth was what we started with. We solved the problem of product-led growth for both AMIs, and then eventually when SaaS came around, now AI tools and agents, like all of those things, we can give you the marketplace intelligence on those things, which can inform go-to-market. So if you can observe something, you can then make the changes to your business model and your approach, your outreach to your customers. And that's what our tool started as. That was one of the first things that we started with. And so as we scaled out, it was very apparent to us that we needed to do more.
You know what the biggest problem here is? Is some people, I guess you don't even realize you have a problem.
That's true.
I mean, because I just,
You mean like AWS?
no,
wouldn't-
like us,
Oh,
though,
yeah,
as
gotcha.
Companies
consumers,
don't.
companies, that we
right.
don't even realize it's a problem.
Yeah.
until you have the
And,
insights.
well, until you hear about it, and
Yeah.
they're like, well, yeah, that this is a huge issue.
Yeah, I think
Right.
about it like it's not quite a Shark Tank, but the idea of going in there and saying, this is my product, hey world, this is my product.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would like for people to buy it. I don't want to market to specific groups of people and bring them in. I want to provide something in a product-led way. When organizations are trying to do things based on product-led growth, they really want to position, their product or service in the marketplace, have something that would lead to demand or create leads, maybe even Amazon originated opportunities where people have heard of your solution and then they refer to your marketplace listing. That was the kind of thing that we wanted to solve for. So instead of taking your existing customers to marketplace, we wanted to build a place and build an environment where you could get new customers through marketplace, through the fact that there are millions of AWS accounts, people who've never purchased through marketplace or maybe haven't heard of us,
Right.
and figure out a way to kind of delight and entice those customers. So for us, that was building the platform that could do all that intelligence for public offers. We would also support private offers, and then later we were able to support the channel. So AWS has a concept known as a channel partner private offer, where you could have a trusted reseller or advisor that would sell your product. We support all of those things, but we started with the public offer and then developing good technology around automating the private offer, and we extended that to the channel.
Okay. Yeah, I think we do private offers and we do the channel
partner with Trend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So you probably do it both ways, where you would sell another product.
Yes.
Correct.
An ISV or a software product.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's usually a part of our larger service offering that we don't typically bring through the marketplace. We typically would just do a SOW with the customer.
Sure.
So
Yeah, and we started to work on that because of all the committed spends, right? AWS is kind of all the cloud providers really have started to have these large commitments. You have your marquee customers spend the 10, 100, or $1 billion over a number of years with them, and it gets people's attention. Like I have.
I think they could committed spend mostly because of bigger discounts and stuff like that. So
Those big enterprise agreements usually
Mm-hmm.
have those strings attached.
Got it.
Right?
Yeah. Okay. So the interesting thing about that is when you
I just know my Amex bill is pretty high.
Yeah, there you go. Not the worst problem to have.
Right.
But so the private pricing agreements that companies have, they typically do that in exchange for a discount. So they've committed to using AWS. And what makes it interesting for us as partners is that the marketplace can be part of that conversation. So our fully featured products and services can be part of that conversation alongside the primitives like EC2 or S3. So now we can build comprehensive solutions, maybe even with those same building blocks, but deliver them to customers, and it counts towards their agreements. So that's what's kind of exciting. And the reinvention of what I've been doing over the last few years is primarily around, the full service commerce co-sell from the heritage that I had when I was doing security work at AWS. It's like the thing that I've found really interesting is, the marketplace and data and analytics. And now I'm diving into what that looks like. And using that knowledge and helping other partners to start their co-sell process, like CRMs, like you do your work in your CRM, AWS is doing theirs and theirs, and wouldn't it be nice if those two things talk to each other?
Yeah, it would be. Yeah,
Work out that exchange.
We've
Yeah.
got that struggle ourselves because we don't use a kind of thoroughbred, kind of CRM tool. We've been with the same company for 6 or 7 years now or something.
Yeah.
And they've not progressed much. So we've been often been talking about changing out our CRM tool as well to be able to align with our AWS sales, because we do struggle a bit with launching accounts, not launching accounts. That's part's pretty easy, but launching the ACE opportunities and all that
Right,
as well.
and the stages of the stages of grief, or
Stages of grief. Yeah, because I know in the
Yeah.
beginning, we used to submit 10 or 15 ACE opportunities, and we get, I don't know, 20 of them rejected.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we got a lot of rejections until we figured out,
And
everything around ACE that you're supposed to, the patterns around it, and how
And
you're
if you could tie all those things together in one tool, going from your marketplace to the ACE opportunity to your
into a
CRM
common
tool,
workflow.
and establish that entire workflow, that's pretty awesome.
So we started with marketplace analytics.
Mm-hmm.
The very next thing that we wanted to do, and part of it was we're working in lockstep with the maturity of the marketplace itself.
Yep.
So
Yep.
2 reInvents ago, not quite 2 years ago, but 2 reInvents ago, they launched marketplace APIs.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they did that, we were a launch partner for marketplace APIs.
Okay.
That allowed us to now start looking at what are the things that are in an offer, what are in an agreement,
Yep.
what are the commonalities there, and how does that look to your CRM? So we began that work of integrating.
What kind of CRMs do you work with?
So we work with 2 right now. We work with Salesforce, and we work with HubSpot.
Okay.
And selfishly, we work with HubSpot because that's what we started with as a company. So
Right.
That's one we've looked at possibly moving to.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
there, I could probably have a sidebar about CRMs themselves, but they have very interesting and very useful features, but they're all cost within the same realm. So it's really like the richness of the APIs and the developer tools that they might have that helps you to iterate.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And now I think with AI, it's a question of, is there an AI agent?
Right.
Can their agent talk to your agent?
Right. Right.
So it's like a little bit of entourage here.
Yeah.
But
And your product, I'm assuming, is just a pure SaaS product, and it just connects to your marketplace through APIs as well.
it is. So it's a pure
So how
SaaS.
does that work? Yeah, how does that work?
Yeah. So we leverage all of the APIs that AWS has that are available, right? So there's a set of marketplace APIs that we leverage. And now with the new partner experience, there's Partner Central APIs that we also interact with. So we bring all of that together to get rid of what we call swivel chair ops. So in a normal scenario, you work in your CRM and then you relay or you put the same exact information into Partner Central. Then you wait for AWS's stage to update and you take that back to yours. It's a lot of churn. So what we do is we allow you to work where you work. So work in your CRM, leverage, our connectors.
Okay.
And our connectors will do the same.
So you're really an API connector in a lot of ways as well. So
Yeah, we
okay,
are.
all right.
Yeah, so we do that. So I would say that our solution is broken down in a couple parts. It's like there's a data and analytics layer that just tells you this is what's what in the marketplace, how you're selling, who you're selling to, what some of your trends are, whether it's year over year, month over month, the things that you want to see from a business and sales perspective.
Everything.
So then it's like, well, after that, I have to sometimes create offers, and rather than log into 3 systems to do it, I can just log into the one. So in the next section, I can go down to private offer automation, and I can set up recurring private offers. So that could be interesting where you say, hey, my discount is 5%, it's 10%.
Nice.
And that's what the thing costs. So whenever someone needs it, instead of me retyping all of the information over and over again, I have what we call a campaign. So we have that. And then we're really focused on the AWS partnership. So some companies have to go through something called a foundational technical review.
Yep.
Yeah, we've been through those.
Yes, we have.
The groans tell it all.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, we also help with advancing you through those stages
Okay.
as well. So we primarily, because we are a software company, we tend to focus on what other software companies need as well. But we help to progress through that. And that was why we joined.
We've been trying to figure out who we are for the past couple of years, whether we're a software company, a product company, tech-enabled services company.
Yep.
Yeah, we're all of those, I think, right now.
So, in the partner program, you have these paths,
Yes.
right? Mm-hmm. And the paths don't necessarily account for what you just said.
Right.
You're right.
Because you could be a software-enabled consulting firm, but the software and the way that it works, whether it's commercial off-the-shelf software, it's your integration, it's your intellectual property,
Right.
And you're building that service. So then from a partnership perspective, what are you?
Right. Consulting based is what we are. So.
Yeah. And it's
Services partner.
Services partner. Yeah.
And I think that was, this is probably a little bit of a tangent, but you used to have the Amazon Partner Network, the APN,
Right.
And you had Marketplace. When I started working with it, you could actually just sign up to sell solutions in the marketplace without being a partner.
Yep.
Now that's converged, but like at that time, you could have a consulting company that had a software product, but they weren't considered a software partner.
Right.
And now I think through the partner paths, you can have a preference to a path, but you actually could be in all of those. So you could have software that counts against the private pricing agreement, but you could also have a consulting and a professional service practice. And then there's the idea of managed service, right? Well, what is managed service?
Exactly.
Really mean?
Right. I mean, and here, if you really want to get down to it, that's really what we are as well. So we're a managed service provider, as you saw earlier today.
Yeah.
Walking through it, right? Walking through our security operations center, and that's just one part of it. We do cloud operations, we do the Kanban services as well.
Right.
So all that is really managed services.
So in the strict definition of AWS Marketplace, those are considered professional services.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But I'll challenge you and say this. If you have a control plane and an application plane that runs on AWS, they call that SaaS.
So we have that too.
Right?
Right. So we do. We have.
So you would have multiple products.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
So we have our Accelerator and XBU40 platforms, multi-tenant system or a single tenant solution. And then we have our command center, which runs on our Accelerator platforms, or it runs on our XBU40 platform. And that to me is a SaaS because it's fully, web-based and using, cloud native serverless tools. And all of our 20X stuff that we're doing, FedRAMP 20X stuff is all, in that same kind of SaaS tool perspective as well. And we also do professional services.
Right.
We guide, advise people through that process. And then we have that build, manage, defend perspective. So where we manage them all the way from the build process all the way to the security operations center as well. So a wide variety of folks out there, or a wide variety of services.
Yeah.
So people have a hard time, with us, especially putting their finger on exactly what we do. And we just said we do everything, which is true.
That's true. Here's
and AWS struggles with us a bit. So
and so here's what's interesting since the last reInvent. So we're a couple weeks since the last reInvent. They introduced something called multi-product solutions. So now you can actually, it's a bundle. So the thing that we've been talking about for years and years and years as partners, like, wouldn't it be nice if you could put 3 things that you already sell together? Well, now you can do that. So you can say, I have, the UB40, the
XB40.
XB40.
UB40 is fine.
Right.
IB65. So.
So you can take the XB40, pair it with professional services, and maybe even another software tool like a CrowdStrike.
Right.
You can put those things together and sell them as one transaction instead of selling separately. And then the things that are supposed to be SaaS count as SaaS. The things that are professional service count as professional service. Wow. They're taking some of the pain away from having to sell each thing with different durations, different price points, and go through separate procurement processes. So we were a launch partner for that as well.
Wow. That sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what we do here. I mean, we do a little bit of everything. And yes, we bundle when we sell our accelerators or our XB40 platform. We do sell CrowdStrike, right? It's part of the package. We sell Nessus, it's part of what we do, right?
Yeah.
And several other tools that we tie to it. I can't think of what they are right now.
Sure,
but,
yeah.
but there are several tools that we sell along with it, to make it fully to where it could be FedRAMP compliant and then pass the FedRAMP audits as well. So you need all those tools to have a complete solution. I mean, we're building basically a data center, right? Full of the FedRAMP controls.
Yeah, like a VDC on VPC.
Right,
So-
exactly.
For those at home, no, I was
Right,
kidding. Yeah, we'll explain that later.
Right.
But that's what I find interesting is now you can do the revenue recognition for each one of those things and then manage them all independently. So you can say, well, hey, CrowdStrike, this is what Infusion Point's influence is for your solution, and this is the revenue that's coming from it through.
So does
CPPO.
everyone get a piece of the same ASOP, or how does that work with?
Yeah, so everyone, it's one of two things. Everyone can get a piece of the same ASOP, or with the partner connections now, that capability, you can share opportunities. So in the past, you've probably had to log in and
the
create separate ones.
The collaboration, the new cloud.
We've seen that.
the
Yeah,
new
Yeah.
seen the
collaboration
rollout
thing,
of that.
So that's very helpful. Like at least you have separate op IDs, and you could have independent stages with different MRR
Right.
and ARR. But you can do that and then collaborate with those other companies. So we were part of the European Sovereign Cloud
Yep.
launch.
Mhm.
And in that launch, it was two other companies, but they each were able to, as we had opportunities come through, we were able to work the opportunities together and then have visibility to the same, different opportunity numbers. But we didn't have to do what you used to have to do, which was you create an op, I create an op.
Yes.
It's like one company can create the op, and both people have, track of that on their side.
Yeah, that's neat. That's neat.
So if you can combine that with the multi-product selling, now you have something. So you can,
Right.
you could put together Elastic with, with your solution, with ours, and we can go to market together and then
Right.
sell it
Mhm.
instead of, what people typically have is like we have
So
a joint solution, but we're like it's a PDF. Now
Right.
it's like actually something that can be sold.
So, I mean, one of the things that, I mean, we've explored that and thought about that, but then the number of, like, as you add a new solution, right, the number of bundles just goes exponential. So, like, are most people doing this as a bundle, like, as needed, or are they sort of pre-packaging this stuff and making it available? I mean,
So what's the rating of this podcast? Is it PG?
It's on
PG-13?
YouTube. It's on YouTube. So
yeah.
let's keep it PG if we
So
can.
let's say this. It's the
You could use an acronym.
I can imagine.
so here's the sugar honey iced tea, right? So here's the thing. The Amazon Marketplace has dozens and dozens of the exact same product.
Right.
Right. You have to use some kind of machine learning to actually, or discovery to get to the product that you might want, or the most popular. Amazon Basics are very popular for a reason because they stand out. They're made by a bunch of other people. Here's what I think. I think that within a few years, we're going to have the crapification of the AWS Marketplace. Because
For
you're
the
going to
same
have
reason why we're struggling with the Amazon.
Yeah, because you're just going to
Yeah.
have so many different bundles and so many different permutations of the same product, and then it's going to require AI to actually find
Manage
what you're
it.
looking for.
And even just think
Yeah.
about the sheer management of it. We're struggling a bit now just managing the ones that we have.
So more than
So-
15,000 listings in the marketplace.
Mm.
Then at the last Marketplace Seller Conference, they added 2,000 within a week.
Wow.
Because they launched AI tools. So
Right,
everyone had
right.
an MCP server out there, right?
Yeah.
So this is what's I think is going to happen. We're going to move away from things like Partner Solutions Finder, where we could segment based on, do you have map eligibility? Do you have this? And do you have
Filters and
that? Yeah. We're going to have AI search it for us, but we're also going to have hundreds of thousands of listings. So I think that it's going to happen. I think it's intentional. And I think it's okay.
yeah.
So you might have an iteration that I'll just make it up, but you might have Trend Micro, you might have CrowdStrike, you might have something else. You might have 10 different iterations of the same end state, the same business outcome. But I think that that's what's going to happen.
Do you think that vendors are going to look for, or I mean, when you have that kind of thing, everyone's struggling to differentiate, right? So you try to sort of game the system or find ways to do that. You think that's going to be like a big focus of AWS to try to prevent that, or I mean, how's that going to play out? I'm just trying to.
I think that there's going to be natural differentiation in the execution. So when you're
So we can't like label everything A.
So you can't just put stuff together. It's like how
This
well
is
do you put it
AAA
together?
well, it's how well you put it together
Right.
and how much of it sells through.
Right.
So I used to, another tangent. I used to work at Burt's Bees. So I came from a consumer products heritage, right? And with consumer products, you had the concept of the end cap, right? You go into, so for those who've never gone into a store, like you go into a store and you have, a shelf, and you have shelf space, which is all very coveted, but you also have end caps.
Mm-hmm.
Like the end cap product is typically the one that they're promoting.
Yep.
And so,
But the reason why they're promoting it is because somebody's paying them to promote that too, right? So you're paying for
You
that.
could be buying in,
Yes,
or it could be just that they know that's what sells the best.
Right.
right.
It's the
And
top.
so in consumer products,
So Jason and I met at Lowe's.
Okay.
And so we're very familiar with the retail.
We know a little
background.
bit about the
We were
game.
shopping in the store and we ran into each other. No.
It's like the cart, but so the idea would be that through either promotion with, paid promotion or sell through,
Right.
Like how fast is your sell through? So the co-sell aspect of it, I think, is what's going to differentiate us, not the amount of products. The products are going to be almost infinite.
Right.
It's the sell through.
Yeah, this stuff is just mind-boggling to me. I mean, the amount of variations and the infinite level of combinations it's going to be really, really tough to continue to be able to manage this stuff. So help our audience truly understand, why is this important and why should people really focus on this? So, I personally, I love to build things, but you know what I really like to do more? I want to build a business model to where we all can make a little bit of a profit and, pay our bills and, buy Porsches or Vegas or
keep growing the business.
keep running the business.
Yeah.
Right. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, to me, this is all part of how do you truly build a business model around selling these things that everybody has put their passion and heart in to building.
Right.
How do you see all that kind of coming together, and just a really short synopsis that people can understand?
I think it all comes down to the data.
Right.
If you have good data, you have good sell through.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that's it. And so what we've tried to do is make sure that the data that companies have is good.
Mm-hmm.
So know what you're selling, who you're selling it to, and why they're buying. And from there, you can micro target. You can do all the things that you would in traditional commerce. Like, we have to think about this not as software companies or consulting companies, but we need some of that consumer products mindset. Right?
I like that. Yeah.
So we want to we're bringing whatever happens with consumer products to technology.
Right.
We don't want technology sales. That stuff's terrible.
Going back to what you just said there, we have to have that consumer products mindset. That's what always amazed me about cloud and how AWS became such a leader early on, and it wasn't the tech companies that created cloud, right? It was a retailer that created cloud. So, the history of that is just, to me, is really interesting.
You got to focus on that, right? Because I mean, after all, what we always like to say is, in the beginning, we were trying to decide which direction we could figure out on how to do, and Amazon, AWS made it easy for us to spend our money.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, they did.
The friction was really low, right?
When we remember trying to get into doing business with any other partner software company, it's like, well, you have to get. I couldn't even
figure out how to become a partner.
Right.
Here it was really easy. You just sign up with an email, and next thing you know, you're an AWS partner.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, all you got to do is 2 or 3 things, and you're a select partner. Cool, man.
Yeah.
And then it's like you got to do some really cool things to become an advanced partner. And then about 9 years later, or 7 year later, or whatever.
What Gary said there, just make it easy to buy.
Make it easy to buy.
Frictionless.
Well, the OG definition of cloud, capacity on demand with pay as you go pricing.
Yep.
That's what it was.
Right.
So I remember, it was another company. They weren't a cloud company at the time. They are now, but they had open licenses and select licenses. And if you bought the wrong one, then you were going to get audited. I was not a fan of that.
Right.
I mean,
Yep.
I don't know if
Yeah.
anyone knows what I'm talking about.
Totally.
Yeah, I
but,
totally understand what you're.
It's like I
like-
bought the wrong one, turn it down.
Right.
You know, I spent that $1.50. Well,
Yeah.
now turn up the right one. You know.
Yeah, and then with AWS, it was just, oh, you want EC2? Okay, well, we've got Linux, we've got, whatever. Like, spin it up, use it for how long you use it, shut it down, and I'll charge you for how long.
Right.
Okay, easy enough.
Absolutely.
And from that, it became to the point that it's like, hey, you want some containers? We got those too.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
you want serverless? What is that? It's like, that just somebody else running it? No, not exactly.
Right.
And that iteration takes us to kind of where we are now, where it's like, we as sellers in the marketplace, we are aligning ourselves. I wouldn't say we're imitating that, but we are aligning ourselves to those same kind of principles. So what you see in the AWS services, we're doing in the marketplace. And for CloudSmart in particular, we have a subscription-based, capacity on demand, pay-as-you-go version of our solution, because we want to align to that selling motion that AWS established and what their customers are also expecting. Their customers are expecting capacity on demand, pay-as-you-go. So we were able to incorporate that into our model and serve that in the marketplace. And I think that's going to help us in the AI world as well, because everyone's moved from that.
We
to
literally
token.
Yeah.
just had this conversation ourselves about. I'm not saying we're going to go this way yet. It's figuring out a different way to price things for our customers, because we're seeing smaller and smaller customers come to us every single day, and they can't afford to go out and buy this big thing that we build that will make them compliant for FedRAMP standards.
Sure.
And we're thinking about doing some adjusting pricing based on pay as you go kind of perspective. Almost subscription. I don't remember the words I used. But we've been talking about this for years, but I don't think it really has clicked until just more recently.
Yeah.
With us, we got to figure out a better way to get these people faster, into the marketplace, so they can then sell their services to the government, so the government can use their services and reduce our tax burden. Because these things can be a lot less expensive than some of these behemoth type systems they're using today.
Yeah.
So
you want that that ease of use. You want to lower that barrier to initial consumption.
Yep.
And that's that's one of the challenges of our time with being in the software industry, being in the technology industry is that. So usage-based pricing, is definitely tricky.
Well, we haven't figured it out yet, because a lot of ours still is people, because we do a lot of managed services, and so we have to figure out how we do that. But I think we can figure out something. I don't know. It might take us another 6 months to a year to figure it out, but we're going to be working on that over the next year to try to figure that out.
Yeah, it's a worthy pursuit for
Yes.
sure. We started off with our solution. The first iteration of it was just contract based. We're like,
Right.
we'll size it for you,
Right.
and
Well,
each
that's
company
kinda,
is going to
that's
be
kinda how
different.
we do it today.
Yeah.
And if you go above this, then maybe we'll charge you more.
Yeah.
But even that is it's really hard to predict. Just how much extra work it's going to be with all these extra people. In the environment.
Well,
So
T-shirt sizes.
T-shirt sizes,
end up being
yeah.
like, well, this extra large is
Right.
really
this
way
extra
too
lar-
small.
Yeah, exactly.
But you can squeeze into
Right,
you know,
right,
like, yeah. I so we've been on a similar journey. We actually we always use our own tool. So our solution is to the penny accurate to what the marketplace reporting is. But we were able to start seeing what people were buying, and then conversely, with some of the other products that we've since brought to market, we started with marketplace analytics. We now have cost analytics, and so from a SaaS operator perspective, we can see, well, this is how much our SaaS
Cost analytics from a marketplace perspective,
cost analytics from an AWS
There you go.
perspective.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
So think about
which actually was the next question I was going to ask you. So that's pretty cool. So
Okay.
you guys have integrated that in then?
Dipping into FinOps then.
yeah.
Right,
So
right.
we have a very lightweight, built primarily to solve our own
Yeah.
problem.
That's what you do first, right?
Right.
You drink your own champagne. And
That's
then,
right.
yeah.
I drink my own champagne.
Or make some bad champagne at first, and
Yeah.
be like,
Well,
we
there's
gotta
that.
get better.
Cork it.
Yeah, I drink my own Four Loko, I guess.
Right,
I don't know. But so we started with marketplace analytics, which we got really good at over a long period of time. Over a shorter period of time, we started with the cost analytics of the market or of the AWS cost and usage. Right. So you look at our cost and usage, our cost and usage is just to serve our SaaS.
Mm-hmm.
And so once we figured out what that was, then we could price and model our pricing based on cost plus or
Right.
any number of other financial metrics to figure out a price to the end customer.
Mm-hmm.
But we needed to have that observability first.
Right.
We had to influence, and same thing with even the CRM integration, like being able to understand the analytics behind ACE. Like, what's our opportunity analytics? Like, what's our average deal size? How long does it take to close those deals? Is this a customer that has purchased from us before, or is it a net new? And if it's a net new, are they also net new to Marketplace? Because that in and of itself could be a journey, right?
Mm-hmm.
I tell you, this is here again. It's a bit mind boggling how big of a problem that you're trying to solve here. I know from us, our FedRAMP side of the house is always hard because it's what we're trying to solve. But just trying to sell that and then really figure out the best ways to sell it, I think is always the challenge. You can build the best thing in the world, but it's not going to draw people to your window to buy, right?
Yeah.
So the key is to be able to combine the two together, is having a good solid solution and then be able to sell it. Because if you can't sell it, why are you building it for?
Yeah, and
right?
that was what's been really nice about this journey. So at this past reInvent, we had a customer Rocket Chat, because it's past
Public.
now and it's public, it's announced. But they were with us for about 13 months. And in that 13 months, they were able to get into a program called ISV Accelerate, which is a co-sell program for software companies. They were able to attain a competency. So they're in the digital workplace competency. They joined the intelligence community marketplace as well, the European Sovereign Cloud launch, and what else? They got the LATAM, because they're based in Brazil, LATAM Rising Star Partner of the Year. So they won all of these accolades and awards, and they worked with us very closely. They wanted to understand, what is co-sell? There's a lot of people that talk about go-to-market. Go-to-market is great. We all go to market by ourselves all the time, but we co-sell with AWS.
Right.
So it's, how do you co-sell with AWS? How do you get them interested when you create an opportunity that they then either pay attention or can assist you? And how can they send things to you?
That's a whole nother topic.
Yeah.
Man, I would love to talk to you about that sometime as well.
But that's what we do.
know.
Like, as a company, we don't have a huge sales force,
right.
or a
So
team.
our sales force is really it's us, right? The leadership team and mostly our advisory team. I've just never really been a big fan of pure salespeople.
Right.
We're a consulting company, right?
Right.
That's where we're grounded in. So you have to be able to pay for yourself, is what I've always thought about it.
Absolutely.
I know salespeople can pay for themselves, but it's very difficult to get them to
I
understand how complicated this stuff is that we sell.
Right.
So
Yeah, as much as we would all want to have the Maserati and this, that, and the other, pure sales, no.
right.
And also, we started from the marketplace heritage, so we
Right.
felt like you didn't truly need that. You
Correct,
needed
yeah.
people who were going to be advocates for your customers to help to sell to them.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll give you anecdotally, right? We, in Amazon speak, in partner-originated opportunities, we close 85% of those that we bring to them. And it's kind of like, well, duh, because you knew the customer, you've cultivated a relationship with them, and you've qualified them to buy. Conversely, though, we've started to get opportunities through AWS. So AWS understands the stuff that we do, and the Amazon originated opportunities, we close about 30% of those. Let me tell you why that's actually better than the 85. We had to hunt and find the 85%, right? The
Absolutely.
30%.
I get the difference.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And that leads to other opportunities that might be partner originated, which will have a higher percentage even than the 85, because now we have an established customer, new opportunities, potentially referrals from those.
Right.
That's great. The Amazon ones, the reason they're important is that those companies previously had never heard of us. So
Right.
the customer acquisition cost on that is practically zero for those, whereas it's definitely defined for the partner originated ones.
Right.
So
It didn't take marketing, didn't take being at a conference. It didn't take all the other things you're having to do
It
for
take
those,
building
Right.
for
relationships,
that 85.
building
Yeah.
relationships with different people,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So-
And now with some of the AI tools that they use internally themselves, we're getting more of those referrals. So if you get more referrals and then your referral
And
percentage.
it's taken you several years to kind of get to that point
Sure.
as well.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. But it's one of these things now where that's why our business is growing triple digit.
But channel partners, I mean, that's kind of what this very similar is, right?
Right.
AWS is one of your channel partners
Mhm.
that's selling for you now as well, which is pretty cool. So the reverse
Yeah.
is always cool.
And
so.
and much like yourselves, we have invested in that relationship by gaining those competencies. The first thing that we did, and the one that we really wanted.
So are you a premier tier yet?
So we are in the software path. So they don't have that designation, but we're at the top of the software path.
Cool.
Because we're.
I'm only kidding, by the way.
Oh, no worries, no worries. But we're what's called differentiated partner.
Okay.
And then we're in a couple of other programs specific to whether it's like things like digital sovereignty or well architected marketplace. We're in a, I always say this, but AWS has over 150,000 partners. Like, how do you get to one of one?
Right.
And we're in a one of very few because we're a third-party integrator for Marketplace. There just aren't that many of those kinds of companies.
Right.
And so we have a relationship where we're advocating for not only go-to-market, but co-sell. Like, I really focus in on co-sell because go-to-market is, I put a listing up. Well, great.
Right.
Okay, I went to market.
Co-sell.
You need co-sell.
So,
Yes.
I mean, is there a side of AWS that you work with very closely on co-sell? Is it? I mean, is it the? I mean, the issue we've always had with it was the sales org is intimidating. It's very big.
It is very big.
and it's hit or miss as to being able to get their attention, right?
Right.
With opportunities that we put in. So, I mean, we've had more success in the last couple of years,
Yeah.
but
Sure.
I still feel like we're just scratching the surface.
Dabble
Yeah.
around the edges, scratching.
Yeah.
the-
So we're working, we work quite heavily with the startup organization. So we've gone into segmentation inside of AWS. So we
Right.
work with startups because a lot of the startups, some of them just got done with their initial product market fit. Now they need to monetize their solution. And some of those startups are also going to want to be partners. So they're
Got
not
it.
only customers, but they're partners. We work with them because we understand that, we can relate to it. We just ourselves not long ago went through some of those processes and we can help them to accelerate. So we work a lot with startups. So we know our segment, like we like startup. We also work with public sector because of the heritage, not only that I have, but
Sure.
just some of the missions that they're in. Those missions are also important to us. Like Gary mentioned, like, with more government efficiency or defense readiness. Like, those are things that are important to us. And so we tend to focus on that. So we have two segments, public sector and startup organizations that we focus on. And now through European Sovereign Cloud and that launch, we have expanded into Europe as well.
Wow.
Nice.
Tell you, you got an amazing story, and I tell you what, from the first day you walked us out of the building over there on Rhode Island, I knew we were going to be kind of tight, and we have been for all these years. And it's funny that we find out that we're all UNCC grads, and that we live in North Carolina as well. So there's definitely a lot of synergies here. We actually have season passes to the 49ers, and not the San Francisco 49ers, but the UNC Charlotte 49ers.
Football, which
football.
we never thought we would have back when
Never
we were
thought
there.
that would happen.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I don't think it was allowed when we were there, right? I graduated probably a day or two before you guys, but not much.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Just a little bit. We should try to get together and go to a football game next
That would be
fall,
be mind blowing actually
Let's
for
do
me
it.
to actually watch them with football because there was always the rumor when I was there.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll never have a football team. And I remember the Dorton Arena when that was new.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
the day I got there, or the year I got there, I think they closed it was a old gym that they had, and they opened Dorton, and then people were like, "Hey, let's start sleeping out for these basketball tickets."
Right.
And
Oh, the
It was-
concerts that they had there.
Yeah.
They had big names that came in.
Yeah, I remember seeing. I think it was Counting Crows.
Yeah, I saw that.
Fiona
I was at
Apple
that
and
show.
Counting Crows.
I was at that show. I worked that show.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it was.
So when I was there, it was only the Smith building. That was about it.
Oh,
So,
okay. Yeah.
you know,
Well, that's what we were saying before. Is like they built a whole other university that's
Around
like
the
super
uni-
cool around the university we went to.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, and the library too. They closed the library like not
they
long
really?
after I got there to do the renovation to put that new.
They wrapped it in brick and all.
Yeah.
It used to be like that stone, that ugly.
Yeah, it was like a white
Oh yeah, yeah.
stone.
Well, you know, I don't think I've actually been on campus per se
Mhm.
in 20 plus years.
Okay, I mean,
I'm by the new engineering building
sure.
because the new engineering building is right behind the stadium, so I see that every time I go.
Oh, okay.
But you know, I mean, you could fit the
I
Smith
didn't
building.
know that.
Oh yeah,
That's
no, it's right
interesting.
behind. It's right behind the stadium.
Okay.
They also have the motorsports stadium over there as well.
Jeez,
Not stadium,
yeah.
but the motorsports
Okay.
building as well. I believe the computer science is also.
Yeah, they
over
moved
there.
all of engineering over to that
Wow.
new campus. The exit now is
Yeah.
by the hospital.
Right. Yep.
Wow.
So
That's amazing. Yeah, no, I have. It's been about 2 years since I've been in that area, and then I took my daughter, to tour campuses, and then she decided to go to ECU. But it is what it is.
I actually talked my daughter into going to UNC Charlotte. So she is a 49er as well. So
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's funny. I kind of picked that because so I grew up in Maryland, and when I moved to Maryland, it was 1985, and the Colts had left.
Oh yeah.
Because there's no football team. So I started rooting for
Don't
the
even get me
San
started.
Francisco 49ers.
Yeah.
And then I come down to North Carolina to go to college, and I was like, hey, this is 49ers too?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was 49ers everything. And now systematically, now UNC Charlotte is the only one that I root for.
Right.
Which that was also a thing for me too, is like, we called it UNCC.
Right. UNCC.
Right? There's like a whole generational
Now
thing
it's
of like
Charlotte.
Charlotte. Yeah.
Yeah. I was there when UNC, like Chapel Hill, the real one, played UNCC. It was like
Oh, yeah.
98, I think,
Yeah.
is when that happened. And I don't know how many times they've played since, but that was the first
From
time.
basketball? You mean
Yeah,
basketball?
basketball.
Because
Yeah.
they just played this year in football for
Football,
the first time,
yeah.
I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Bill Belichick was the coach.
Okay.
So it's pretty interesting. And we
They
lost.
oh, really?
Yeah, I think we won one game this past year.
I
So
would've-
we're not that great, but we
Well,
have great.
Belichick
we
wasn't
have,
that great either,
Yeah, well, we
so.
have great seats. And
Yeah,
we,
UNC was not. Yeah.
yeah, well,
We'll get the seats now. Like, have them now when they're not as good.
yeah.
And then when they
Well,
start
we
coming
bought them
up,
when they
like-
first came out. So we
Yeah.
bought the seat licenses when they first came out, and we've been having season tickets ever since. And we go to about half of them, and then I give away about half the tickets.
Yeah.
As well. And then usually when we go, because we live all the way up here, I mean, it's an hour and a half away.
Okay.
We go around second quarter, and we leave around the third.
Yeah.
Time we're
I mean, you
out.
get the experience.
Yeah, we get,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, when I came from Raleigh today, like, this was not a bad drive. I was
No.
like, oh, okay,
Well, go south to Charlotte, and it's a totally different.
well,
yeah.
Oh, you got to go 77.
Well,
right?
77
Oh,
down. Yeah. So
Say
it's
no
That's
more.
fun.
a bit of a nightmare.
Yeah.
So this is actually a good point maybe for us to shift a little bit and kind of talk. And that was pretty fun. Reminiscing about UNC Charlotte.
Yeah.
But just a couple brief questions for you. Just
Lighter fare.
Lighter fare. Yeah.
Yeah,
Lighter
yeah.
fare. So
All right.
So think about your one of your favorite books that you have. That you like to talk about, and what would you say is one of your favorite books?
So you want a serious book, or do you want a like whimsical book?
So whatever your favorite book is. I always like to say like my favorite is The Stand, and I absolutely love that book. And every podcast, everybody knows, okay, he's going to say his favorite book is The Stand. One of these times I'm going to change it up. So
One of the there's a couple things. So these are funny books, but Kevin Hart, the comedian,
Oh, yeah?
actually wrote a book. Like, I can't make this stuff up, and it was semi.
Is that the name of it?
Yeah, it
Oh,
was
wow,
called
okay.
"I Can't Make This Stuff
Okay.
Up." And
I thought you can't make it up that he wrote a book.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. No, I mean, so that one was interesting because it kind of goes through the journey of how he became a comedian.
Uh-huh.
Like, those are anyone that's in an art form. I always think that those are interesting because I don't consider myself an artist. Like, what I do is a science, right?
But you are a very creative individual, so don't give yourself some credit
So
for
I'm
that. So
creative in the sciences, but these people who are in arts, they just think so
Yeah.
differently. So I always find those kinds of things fascinating. And then I also have like some cookbooks that I think are interesting too. Like I've seen some vegan cookbooks. I actually have one that's just beans, like beans across the world, and like lentils and some really interesting things from like Ethiopia. Like sometimes I think about like the foods from certain areas and how those spices came into play and how trade works and how it's like, oh, well, this is not a native spice, but we use this anyway, and it came through, these various areas. And so I find stuff like that interesting. And then like, I'll call it the scammiest book I've ever read, but it was that Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Poor Dad series. It's the scammiest thing in the world, but it's interesting because like the stories are good. Like, how they came about, complete
How many of them
fiction.
are true is what I want to know.
Right. Like none of them were true, but there's some good proverbs in there. And you're
Right.
like, oh, okay, that's cool. But yeah, like that actually started me on a journey when I created way back in 2003 when I started my first company. I was like, oh, well, owning a business is really important. It sort of is.
Yeah.
And it can be life changing, but it's stuff like that every now and then you'll like a complete source of fiction you can get a real truth out of. So that's interesting stuff. And then I read a lot about Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. So I read a lot about like the making and the reason behind some of these like comic books and stuff like that. And I'm a huge Star Trek fan, so I've read so many Star Trek novels, so many Star Wars novels. Like I get into like the sci-fi and fantasy.
I like that you're both as well, because I'm like I like them both.
I do like them both. And so my daughter right now, it was a big debate in our house. It was like, oh, well, should we watch them in release order or, episode order? We're watching in episode order. And we actually were doing it recently with one of my younger daughters. And like, we're about halfway through. She's like, I just want to get to Rey. And I was like, yeah, but you got to understand how this happened and the fall of the Republic, So
I did that same thing when what was the name of that one? I can't remember. Rebel One, is that what it was with Rey in it?
Yeah, Rogue One.
Rogue
Yeah,
One.
Rogue One.
Yeah.
So when I watched it, I was like, oh my God, this is like exactly when the start of it all starts.
Yeah.
So I had to go back and literally I started watching it that night. What was next?
Those are good because sometimes when you do prequels or you do something that's an established canon and then you go and try to like retcon it, telling the story to make it fit in with what was already said is good. And so the most important sci-fi franchise to me is Star Trek, right? That's the one that informed why I wanted to go into technology and computer science, and all the stuff that I've done is all centered around that. And if you ever are in a meeting with me, you'll see like my Star Trek encyclopedias in the background and you'll see other Star Trek books. And I'm still waiting on that Lego Enterprise I'm supposed to get, but anyway, like those are the things that were really impactful to me.
Cool. You got one?
Yeah, so I've got one. So if you could go back in time and have dinner with anyone in history, who would it be?
That is a very interesting question, and I knew that I should have a good answer for that, but.
You were warned.
I
warned you.
I was warned.
Warned at lunch.
I knew it was coming. I actually think this kind of fits into what I was just saying. I think it would be Gene Roddenberry, right? So the creator of Star Trek.
Yeah.
So I think that would be interesting. Maybe Patrick Stewart would be a close second for me. But yeah, I think for me, that would be interesting.
Just pick his brain.
Yeah, just... How'd you come up with this?
Understand
Because he
the
was like a
mind.
beat cop and went to World War II. And I know some things about him, but it's just interesting. Like, how did you decide to produce a show? And when that show failed, you didn't just like stop. You retooled it and tried it again.
Yeah.
And
That's a
then when
much
that one
better
got-
answer than George Lucas, by the way.
Yeah.
George Lucas, you end up in the food court,
Yeah.
I don't know a ton about George, but
George Lucas. He's a funny guy. I forgot my other question.
That's okay. I'm here all week.
Do you have another lightning question?
I know. I don't even need to ask it. I already know what it is. But what's your favorite television show?
Yeah, well,
I mean,
specific. So there's a bunch of Star Trek, right?
Right.
Star Trek Next Generation. That's my one. That's my go-to. I remember being like 9 years old, coming home from like a camp and being like, "Oh, is that show on?" And this is like, we had a VCR. My parents didn't think to record anything for me, so I was like an hour in. And
So this is actually the time when you actually had to wait for the television to come on
Yeah.
show on, what was it, Saturday nights or Sunday nights?
This was like like a Saturday
Yeah.
night, because that show also was first run syndication, so it wasn't on a specific network. So I get home an hour into the 2-hour premiere, and this is for those that don't know, you used to have to watch the shows when they came on.
Yes. Yeah.
Unless you recorded them.
Right.
But yeah, so it stuck with me.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that it's been a big, it's imagining what that future looks like. And as I think about some of the stuff that we're all trying to figure out with like AI, it's like, oh, okay, well they had an inspiration for that.
Yes.
And we all try to like build things, and now we're seeing a lot of that. Like we all have cell phones. We all have 3D printers. We now we've got AI, and so it's us all continuing to build that same kind of thing.
So we just watched 2001: A Space Odyssey as a family, and the kids were like, just seeing the future from the lens of 1967 or
it's 1960s, right?
Yeah.
So
and they were like, it's fascinating the things that they got right and the things they got wrong, or the things that were kind of right but not exactly right.
Yeah.
A big TV video conference with your kids, instead of imagining it on a device.
Well, who could ever? Yeah.
I mean, Cisco used to make these big rooms, right? And they're like, oh, everyone's going to go into this room, and like,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting. All right, so I had one. What was it? Oh, sorry. Do you have another question?
I do have one, and so think about it from we're a big services organization. Yeah, it's part of our kind of who we are. So can you think of anything that you've done that's gone out and helped other folks that you want to talk about?
Yeah, so we started working with service organizations as they make this pivot towards offering their intellectual property in the marketplace, right? So it's helping them to understand how to co-sell that. Like, what does that look like?
I probably should have said more service-based on from a, like, say, nonprofit organization or anything like that.
That kind of service.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay,
Service.
Like edit that whichever way you want
technology
to.
was too much in your head.
Yeah, it's always here.
Yeah.
I stay ready with these kind of answers. Oh, service-wise. So I've done a couple things. So I was on a local board for a company called Youth Villages. And so Youth Villages is based in Tennessee. They help at-risk youth, generally that are outside of foster. So between the ages of 16 to 20. So I've done that, and then not too far down the road from us, I'm on the foundation board for Winston-Salem State University, and that's been a learning experience for me just to understand. I went to UNC Charlotte. I didn't go to an HBCU, so being able to work with them and understand like how that works, what they're dealing with as far as first generation college attendees and what some of the potential financial struggles they might have could be. So that was really interesting. It was really good. But I did that as a result of my mother attending Winston-Salem State, and so I got to know the people over there, and then
That's awesome.
So it's things like that I try to work with. We have. We're fortunate to have all these things and ideas and be able to try to help other people out. So, or at least if we're not helping, try to understand.
Right.
So that's what we tend to do and focus on, is helping people with education, helping people who may just need it.
Right. We do a lot of education here as well. We live in a very rural area here in North Carolina. A little bit of poverty as well around here. So we actually work with a community college. Jason sits on the board for their curriculum for the Wilkes Community College, and has helped develop their total security curriculum over there, and I think they actually have an associate's degree in it now, right?
Yeah, that's amazing.
And then I actually sat on the board up in Appalachian State for their on their CIS board, and I've helped work with them to develop their cybersecurity program. And I mean, we benefit out of that as well, but we also help a lot of the students
Right.
up there.
It's a great mutual partnership,
It is.
with both organizations, and it's then the pipeline is sort of works from going to Wilkes to folks who like you met Levi earlier,
Right.
Like he transferred from Wilkes up to App State, so
Yeah.
we're impacting both.
But think about that, like you're in the region, like that's regional development.
Yes.
Yep.
It's personal development for the kids that are going to those schools, and it's giving them a perspective to see something that they may not have seen before.
Right.
So
And if they're from here, it gives them a reason to stay here.
Right. That's really what we're trying to do is get more people to stay here in Northwest North Carolina.
Yeah.
That's one of the things
that's very powerful. But you're also changing the types of careers, like in a rural area. My mom's family is from Stokes County, and it's a lot of farms. At that time, it was tobacco,
right.
But
here it was furniture and
So
manufacturing.
changing from textiles into technology, you're giving them something that they just haven't seen before.
Yep.
And that's the kind of thing that I'm into as well. Is just let's help people to build and imagine things that their imaginations didn't support before. And I think that's a very commendable thing. I like that. Yeah.
That's part of the reason why we're here. We could be anywhere. I spent most of my career in the Washington, D.C. region, and now I'm back down here in Northwest North Carolina, and wouldn't change it for the world.
I mean, most of our competitors are in the DC area or
Silicon Valley
or else,
Seattle or
So we're doing this here because hey, there's talent here that can do the work, and can do it here in region, and why not be doing that work here and benefiting our area instead of it being in those urban areas that already kind of have it.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
and it's also very accessible too.
Yes.
You're not missing anything by not being in Northern Virginia
or
Silicon Valley.
Yeah, we are.
You're in
the traffic.
Yeah, you're missing the traffic.
And the just rush.
Can't really get the train wrong. I was just actually up there like a week ago, but like the amount of sprawl, like it's amazing. Like
real.
And so that's a really interesting thing as well to be able to have that kind of influence here in the area. And the tour was really awesome to see what you all had done to the building since you've been here.
Yes.
And like just the idea of being able to do that. Yeah.
And the building sat idle for several years, so we've done, everything has been done. We used to over here, I don't know, cameras can't see it, but over here, we actually used to have the infinite loop of power.
I remember this.
Oh God, the way this place was wired up is just incredible. So it was definitely a fire trap. So, but hey, truly appreciate the conversation. It's been a pleasure having you on the podcast today. Hopefully you've enjoyed it as well.
I've loved it.
So
This has been great.
when you have yours, you need to make sure you get us in the first 10 episodes, and we'd be happy to come out and visit you out here. Or you can come out here and you leverage our podcast studio.
Yeah, there you go.
It's available.
Use the studio.
I'll get a logo.
Yeah,
and
put
it up there.
There you go.
I'll put a sword. Oh, you have one.
There you
There's a sword. It's funny. Like there's this.
You can't have our night though.
Right, sorry, but there's this concept of like laying down your sword. Like I laid down my barbecue sword a long time ago. I don't do as much of that.
There you
go. But it'd be really great to have you all on a future podcast once I start going in that direction with my customers and all that. And then it's been a privilege to be here and to experience what you all have built down here in this part of North Carolina.
Cool. Well, as always, you may not find one of us behind the shield, but you're going to always find somebody at Infusion Points behind the shield today. Cheers to y'all and peace out.